platform or don't give them an audience. I do believe they have every right to speak out loud.
Just to come back a little bit, at the beginning we talked a little about the unique things that governors can do. And just in talking about our politics in general, there seems to be a contrast between Congress, where certain people on the fringes can build a brand and become well known by doing the outrageous and finding ways not to get things done, not to compromise, and get reelected. Governors are CEOs. Governors have to deliver. So how can governors play a bigger role in leading us out?
Yeah, again, lead by example. And I think, look, almost all the governors get along. I mean, in my 8 years, I can honestly tell you there's really only been 2, maybe a third, but 2 real governors that really nobody liked. Nobody cared for at all. I don't mind.
Would you say who they are?
Do you really want me to? Yeah, Andrew Cuomo, complete jackass. No one liked him. And I gotta be honest. No one cares for Gavin. Gavin's just a prick. Excuse me. He just is. It's really disappointing. I got along with him. All of us got along for a while. But even the Democrats, they won't tell you out loud. But behind closed doors, you're like, oh, God, look who's coming. You know, they all roll their eyes because... And look, governors are about... I'm sure that'll hit social media. Who cares? Governors all get along. I mean, some of the most liberal... Tina Kotek's a great example. Tina is the governor of Oregon. There is absolutely nothing Tina and I probably agree with politically, but she's a wonderful person. I think she's really great. I call her my favorite West Coast governor. You know, Phil Murphy in New Jersey, right? Phil Murphy and I get along great. We really do. He's got this amazing sense of humor. Again, I don't think he does a great job as governor. He probably might say the same as me. That's okay. But we have different approaches, but we get along really, really well. And overall, the governors really, really are a very good team because we're 24/7. There's no vacation, right? There's a shooting, there's a flood, there's a whatever. My phone's going to ring, and I'm the guy they call, and that's fine. That comes with the job. I don't really get vacation, and that's hard. And it's probably why after 4 terms I'd like vacation. I'd like to go on vacation, and I'd like to earn a real paycheck in the whole 9 yards. But that contrast has never been so clear between the nonsense in this city. And again, it's because as governors, we're in our states. We stay local. These guys here. These men and women almost have the excuse, but it really works against them to be here and not be with their constituents. Now, and let me back up what the job is so different, right? Congress has 1 job, 2 jobs. They approve or disapprove of a policy, and they approve or disapprove of funding. Right. And that's it. They don't design the mental health system. They don't design a system for better homeless services or integration of education or what. They don't design anything, right? I think CEOs, I think all governors should be engineers. I think all politicians should be engineers, by the way, because it's about, okay, are we going to design flexibility in the system? We have a policy, we have some funding, okay, fine, but now we have to figure out how do we get from A to B to C, and actually, are we going to get a return on that investment? And if not, are we going to be able to pivot, or are we just going to be stalled? Are we going to do things the old-fashioned way? You bring in stakeholders, you bring in, doesn't matter the political party, you just design and get stuff done. They don't have to do any of that. And to your point, most importantly, they can raise a lot. I think campaign finance reform is drastically needed in this country, and anyone who's not talking about that is missing the boat. To your point, they are extreme, they do nothing, and they raise a ton of money off it. Right. Not just to get themselves reelected, but for the showmanship of that extremism. But they're fools. I mean, how's the Marjorie Taylor Greene bill doing? Is there any bill that she's ever even... I don't even know what she does. Or Matt Gaetz. I mean, but they're known for their extremism, but they actually don't functionally do anything, you know, for the betterment of good governance and civics. So that's really frustrating. Now, I think ultimately, if you want to know where I'm a little pessimistic and where this country is going to be in trouble, it's about 8 years from now. In about 8 years, I'm a fiscal hawk. I really am. I work really hard to balance budgets. It's not easy. I have a surplus every single year, and I always cut taxes. And it's not easy. It's really, really hard. These guys get away with not even doing it. Even the Republicans will tell you it's not that important, which blows my mind, and that's a real frustration. Probably the #1 reason why I didn't run for the Senate was I had Republican senators saying, well, no one really cares about balanced budgets and fiscal discipline. And I said, screw you, I don't want to be part of this at all. But what's going to happen in 8 years? Social Security is going bankrupt. That is a fact. And there is already a law in place that the Social Security benefits that some folks in this room might be waiting for are going to get cut. I think it's 23%. Like, that's in law. That's happening. Your benefits are being cut. Someone has to fix that, has to stop that. And it isn't borrowing more money, right? Then, immediately after that, Medicare will go bankrupt. That is a mathematical fact. It is coming. and it's coming much faster than anyone wants to acknowledge. The problem is Congress waits for the crisis before they react, and as anybody knows, if you're solving a problem in the middle of a crisis, you're not putting forth really the best solution. You're just plugging the gap and hoping for the best. So that's the frustration that this town gets away with, and we allow them as citizens to get away with, only reacting and forcing them to do something when the crisis really, really hits. I say fire. I mean, I mean it sincerely. I'm not making a joke. I honestly believe just fire them all, right? Fire take the U.S. Senate, and I have great friends on the U.S. Senate. I was with Senator Ricketts, former Governor Ricketts, but Senator Ricketts last night for dinner. Great guy. But you can't tell me if we fired all 100 U.S. senators and replaced them with 100 randomly chosen working adults in America. You can't tell me they're going to get less done, right? I mean, think about how low the bar has been set. Think about it for a second. You can't tell me we're going to get a worse result, right? So they've really set this bar so low. They pass one bill, pat themselves on the back, and want accolades for it. So it's very disappointing. It really is. And so I think just on a different level, because governors have to be there 24/7 and always accountable, we have a different standard that we have, and that you all, the citizens, force us to live by, which is great. And in New Hampshire, I get to get elected. I'm the only governor, me and Phil Scott, governor of Vermont. We're the only two governors in the country that have to get elected every 2 years. And people say, isn't that terrible? And I'm like, well, for me it is. Yeah, it sucks. But for the citizens, it's awesome. If I'm doing my job and I think I've earned it, you can rehire me. And if not, you can fire me. And you should if I'm not doing my job and I'm not living to certain standards. And I love that feedback response system. I love that accountability. It's really hard as a governor to raise money and run every 2 years, and it drains on the family and all that sort of thing. But it is the way the system, I think the system should work to get the best results.
We got a text that your father stopped watching for a few minutes.